Good morning, guys. It is Thursday, August 5th, 2021. And I just want to say really quickly to all those who reached out to me yesterday in the comments with their condolences. That was really humbling, and I appreciate it sincerely. That meant a lot. I was in a bad place yesterday, and that just really helped cheer me up. It was really amazing. So thank you. All right, let's get down to business. I've been trying to put off talking about this, but I think at this point, maybe it's something we need to discuss. And I don't necessarily think that it's something bad. The way I'm looking at it may be different than other people. So I'm jumping in real quick here because I forgot about this video clip from last year. And I can't even believe, honestly, that this is real, that it actually happened. But yeah, remember, this is last year in Wuhan, what they were doing to the people in China. Unbelievable. All right, back to the video. I think the lockdowns for this Delta variant is something that we need to at least consider. I know there's a lot of people out there who, say what you want about getting the jab and what's going to happen going forward. But at this point, after I've seen what's happened with AMC and the way mainstream media likes to twist the truth and sometimes just put out completely false narratives, I don't trust anything they say on the media. And if you do, that's fine. I have no problem with that. This isn't a political thing for me. This really just boils down to, I think some of these people have agendas and ideologies they want to push. And so I take everything they say with a grain of salt. So before we get into the Delta variant, lockdowns, and how this could affect AMC fundamentally as a company, and also how it could affect Ape Nation with the play on this short squeeze, somebody do me a favor and
cue the speeder.
And you just said that on camera. This going viral.
Ape Nation, thank you for helping me pass 200 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, hopefully I can earn it today. All right, let's get into this. So as far as the lockdowns go, this is just a typical Google trend search, and you guys, anyone can do this. It just basically talks about the interest over time on any specific subject or word. You can put in a search term up here, and it'll show you across the country who's talking about what and when. So as you can see here, it is starting to climb. The interest over time has begun to climb. In the last 7 days, we've gone from a 6 to a 61. So about tenfold. Now, here's my take on this. Well, actually, before I give you my take, yesterday on CNBC on Market Alert, I believe, Jim Liebenthal, John Najarian, and Scott Wapner were on talking about the Delta variant and how this could impact the market going forward. And actually, I believe this was from Monday. But they did discuss it, and each of them kind of had a different take. And again, this is mainstream media, so take everything they say with a grain of salt. I think it's okay to hear these guys' opinions and see what they think, because they are supposed to be experts at this. But don't let me tell you about it, but roll the film.
It's a sample set of one.
The question, Jim, is not what's happening today. It's not. It's what's going to happen in the weeks and months ahead. I'm looking at a stat that literally
Scott, we've been talking about Delta.
Literally
we've been talking about Delta for 6 weeks.
I'm talking about Delta specifically, because according to
we've been talking about it for 6 weeks.
Yeah, well, the U.S. was later than other places like the U.K. We haven't even peaked in this country yet. 59.72%, let's call it 60% of U.S. counties are reporting high community transmission. 5 weeks ago, only 8% were reporting the same, according to federal data. It's not about what's happening today, Jim. It's about if that picks up and there's headline risk that's out there, people pull back their own, okay, so we're not going to have lockdowns, right? I agree with Fauci, and whether you do or you don't is irrelevant. If you're not going to have lockdowns, if people pull back their own level of spending, you don't think that's going to impact the stock market?
Listen, this is a great discussion. Coming back on the plane yesterday, I of course looked at MGM and Las Vegas Sands and Wynn. And those stocks are pricing in Delta, Epsilon, Gamma, and everything. And I'm not making light of this, and I don't want anybody to think I am making light of COVID. But this is my job and all of our jobs to say where the opportunity is. You look at those casino stock charts, and they are pricing in a lot worse than Delta. And I will just tell you, the boots on the ground, and again, I'd love John's input on this, boots on the ground don't comport with what the stock prices are saying. Hey, listen, I know the stock market looks forward. We all know that. That's why those charts are down, but they look like they're down way too much.
Doc?
Yeah, and I think here, Jim would agree, Scott, that what we're looking at is the whether it's the cruise lines that I cited, the Vegas that's Jim's citing. Those are people that aren't working those days, at least. They might be working, but the real issue here is labor. And when labor returns, so that we can have the supply-demand equation equalize a little bit. Because, again, ISM is down as much as it is flattening as much as it is because they can't get labor. They cited that in these reports. The fact that Jim is correct, that Vegas is packed, is great news. But that means, of course, that we've got to see more people getting back to work. And like I say, we're not going to get those numbers, Scott, until October. We might see evidence of it in September, but we're not going to get the solid numbers from the employment data and so forth until October. So that's a long stretch. To Joe's point about how August sometimes is a meandering and sometimes volatile period, it sure could be, because we'll have all these discussions about variance and whether or not this is keeping people from going back to work, whether or not it's keeping kids out of school for a longer period of time. We all think they'll eventually get back.
Okay, so a couple of interesting takes there, I think. Here's my opinion on this. First of all, we know that on, I believe, Monday or Tuesday, the federal government extended the rental eviction moratorium. Is that good for the economy, looking on the short term and the long term? Here's what I'll say about that. For the people who own the rental properties, it's horrible, right? Because here's 2 more months of rent that they're not going to get. Or you can look at it and say, here's 2 more months for the state to get its together and get the money that has been federally allocated for these rental payments to get people out of this rental debt. We printed all this money and it's sitting in accounts. No one's using it. That blows my mind. I don't understand the logic behind that. But somehow, the bill that was passed back in March, the CARES Act, that money is sitting in accounts. And I think someone said it was like 1.7 out of 34 billion has gone out. What a disgrace. I mean, whoever is in charge of this is doing a you-know-what job getting this money out. The fact that we have to extend again now another 2 months. Okay, so that's one thing to take into consideration. Here's the other thing. On September 4th, the last federal unemployment benefits are going out, meaning that your state unemployment will no longer have the $300 federal unemployment factored into it. So if you were making $500, let's say, because you had $200 of unemployment from your state and $300 from the Fed, that's $500 total. That is now going to drop down to $200. That is not a lot of money to live off of. People can live off of $2,000 a month. $800 is a much bigger test. So I think in the first couple weeks of September, you will see a large influx of people going back to work because of that federal $300 stipulation coming to an end. Now, it's just my opinion. A lot of people seem to disagree with that and think that a lot of people have just left the workplace for good. I think Jim's point, larger point to the unemployment numbers and people going back to work, I think that will start to come into fruition in October unemployment numbers. I think we'll see a spike. And the other thing is the schools reopening. Is it possible that could keep a lot of parents at home because they can't send their kids to school? They have to be doing homeschooling. Yes, so that could have an effect on the workplace. All right, so how is this going to affect AMC? In my opinion, as long as there's no lockdowns, and so far Fauci and the rest of them have said that they're not going to implement another lockdown again. The movie industry has spent hundreds of millions of dollars in the last 6 months for promotion of some of the blockbusters that are coming up in the next couple months before the end of the year, right? If we look at what is coming up for movies at the end of 2021, let's just take the next 4 months. Forget about the first 3 months of 2022. But we know Suicide Squad's coming out this weekend. There's a Candyman movie. There is Many Saints of Newark, which is a prequel movie to Sopranos. There is Dune, which I am really excited for after what happened with Star Wars. So me personally, I'm excited for that. No Time to Die, a James Bond movie is coming out. There's a Halloween movie coming out. There is a Ghostbusters movie coming out. There's a Top Gun movie coming out, the first one in like 30 years. Spider-Man's coming out. There's a fourth Matrix coming out with Keanu Reeves. And there's a Kingsman movie coming out. So there are a lot of big movies that are coming out that Hollywood and the industry are banking on big box office numbers. These aren't just some of the films that we've seen over the last 6 months. These are blockbusters that they have spent a lot of money on. And I don't think after what happened to Black Widow, they can afford to be so cavalier about pushing things off into the future. We saw how that impacted Black Widow. And I think going forward, the movie industry should be okay. If a mask mandate comes back, that's going to be up to individual states. But as far as long-term for the movie theaters, I think a lot of these movies will do very well, as long as there's not a lockdown. And I don't think that there will be. So I don't want to put any fear out there that we're headed towards that. I can't say for certain, but in my opinion, they will survive. Thus, so we always say that AMC is not a play on fundamentals, right? We always have said since the beginning, this is a play in the short squeeze. And the funniest thing is, all of my friends keep saying to me, dude, the movies are done, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, you don't understand. This isn't a movie based on earnings or fundamentals. Like, my friends just can't understand the concept of a short squeeze. So I can't help a lot of them with this play. I wish I could, but I just can't. Because of streaming, everyone has in their mind all of a sudden that no one's going to go back to the movies again. And if anything in the last 6 months has proven that to be false with the numbers that we have seen for not even that great of movies. I mean, besides a horror movie with Quiet Place 2 and with Kong, which is, okay, a really huge movie, but that was in the very beginning of the pandemic, reopen. I think that fundamentally, this is good for us because they will continue to make revenue coming in. You will continue to see, I think numbers are just going to go up for the weekends. And like I said, the mask mandate is something is completely out of our control. But if this thing ends up getting dragged out longer than we think it will, I don't think that this will have a huge effect on AMC itself. The broader market, I can't speak for. But as far as our squeeze goes, I think the fact that these movies are coming out, how much they've spent on them, is going to be a big factor to us being able to fight these guys to the end. All right, guys, that's all I have for this morning. I appreciate if you made it this far. If you want to like and subscribe to the video, as you please. This is Ape Nation. I'm the Masterlorian, and I'm out.